Welcome to Game Soup. It's a game design podcast where we throw ideas in a pot and see what's cooking. I'm Chloe and I'm joined by Kayla. How are you doing, Kayla?
I'm doing okay. I have been in a lot of pain this week because I don't know. I think maybe it's just like the weather turning or stuff on me.
Yeah.
But other than that, yeah, I've been in a lot of pain and I've played a lot of Hades 2. Has been much of... I've sent some emails.
Yeah. I mean, I certainly think the weather going colder always makes me a bit sorer. But, yeah, my physio guy was just like, do more squats. So, I've been doing more squats.
Yeah. That's sometimes to every physio, every hammer is a squat to a nail that is a body problem.
I mean, the squats have been helping, so...
Oh, that's good to hear. That's good to hear, at least. I'm mainly just trying to sort of, like, rest up. But, you know, I've been sort of king active time. I played Blood Bowl. I played a miniatures game for the first ever time.
Oh, the Warhammer football one?
Yeah.
How did you think? What did you think of it?
I enjoyed it. I think I managed to quickly enough sort of get like, oh, okay, so positioning and pressing the line, this is all sort of the focus, and it was fun to see. There's normally a sort of part of me that was like, what is this capturing that like me doing a different, admittedly, version of football as a card game doesn't? And I was like, okay, yeah, so positioning is such a big thing when you're doing a miniatures game, whereas me trying to do football in a card game means positioning comes much less important or harder to map except for narrative purposes. But I think it's useful to think about positioning for narrative purposes for letting you like start to focus more on your guys. That's just me thinking a bit more about Asphodel FC, which is my sort of current slow percolating game. But that actually just reminded me, I did also release yesterday at the time of recording, so earlier this week at the time of release, the new edition of Follow Me in the Night with the reworked subtitle A Curse on the Radio, which is a tarot-based solo game where you're playing like a sleepless wanderer, walking around the street trying to banish ghosts, dealing with like conflicting versions of reality, and guided by music. That was the third thing I ever wrote, and I've now like given it a big overhaul for the musical trilogy.
Nice. I saw you posting about it on Blue Sky, and God, your layouts are always gorgeous.
I enjoyed the layout for that. That was also a fun one because it had like a kind of more rigid set of parameters. I went with this stuff like letterboxing, and there was more like purposefully chosen like color choices, which had like meanings depending on which sort of, I guess, version of events they're from. But then like there was permission to break that with like the tearing through of it.
Yeah.
So that was a fun project. It means I'm currently not working on anything specific layout wise. I've like, other than like I'll be working on some samples for Mech Ritter. But we've done some work on that recently, kind of like nailing down the visual style, which has been fun. And yeah, I'll work on more concrete samples of that as we get closer to Mouse Ritter month. But what games are we gonna get out of the oven today on Game Soup, Chloe?
I mean, before we go to the random word generator, I thought I would talk about what I've been writing myself as well as you.
That's fair.
You get to do a bit about your game, so I'll do a bit about mine. I was thinking last night in bed about over a year ago now, we did a game on Game Soup called Clerics, which was a Belonging Outside Belonging sort of game where you play as like the local priests and clerics in a fantasy town. And I couldn't quite figure out the thrust of it, but I think I've got an idea now for making it a sort of prompt-based community building, sort of world-building game. So I'm going to start tinkering with that. Name a game that is not me doing that.
That's fun. That was your game that was working through some religious trauma, right?
I mean, that still has people being excommunicated.
Skirmish is like your least religious trauma
because they like magic, but you know, if you stretch everything far enough, you could get to that. So, yeah, I don't think it's going to be belonging outside belonging.
So, are you? Is it going to be much less
a journaling game? But I think I want to focus
more
on
like
it
fully just world
being a sort of multiplayer. Like everybody at the table is like a part of this religious community. Like I don't know if you're shrine maidens or just local priests or whatever. I guess you can build that in the game, and then you have this list of prompts. Yeah, I think you have your characters and you build up the local community with like prompts.
But you still have characters.
We roll a dice or whatever, and I think in the book there's like a D100 say table, but you are not going to meet every single person on that table because when you roll that result, it adds it to your local community, which is maybe a 1D20 table that you write yourself, and you take the result off the 100 table and add it to your small community table. So, like, you are building up the people in your town, which you could then take and use in another game for, like, adventuring or whatever. And then, like, another list of prompts for, like, what are their problems, whatever, to build that up. And, like, that builds the natural story of it, as well as, like, developing the backstories of these characters in the town as you go.
Yeah, that sounds fun. That sounds like an interesting
yeah, and I think I don't.
So instead of no dice,
yeah,
no
I think
masters,
like there'd be a GM who would play all the people in the town. But like, I think you could also
no masters.
There's also a version in my head where like you're passing around that responsibility. Like, oh, today I'll be the farmer, and everyone else help this farmer with his problems or whatever. So I think there is a world where. Yeah, it's like you pass around the responsibilities. A
kind of GM-agnostic game.
So I think it is kind of like... You could say it's belonging outside belonging, but it's kind of like... I don't think it would use the structure of, like, setting elements and whatever. So...
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's something I can tinker along with. God knows that D100 table will very quickly become a D50, then 36 and whatever else, but... we've all been there. Yeah, let's go to our Vandy words. So, my word is shelf.
Do you want to go to the random word generator now? I've got
even the words decay.
Decay. Shelf decay. I think shelf, here's a fun pitch on shelf. Instead of this being any kind of thematic thing, or fictional based thing, it's your mechanic is like using books off your shelf.
Elaborate.
I figured out shelf. You figure out decay.
Okay. See, I don't want to do GameStoop's 17th version of you hop between the different books and you fight off the decay inside the books and blah 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 blah. I think.
Yeah, no, I feel like maybe it's more you use, like, picking a book off of a shelf. Maybe it's like rolling a series of dice, like, depending on how many books you have on a shelf. You're rolling, like, a D10. That's like, oh, it's, okay, you rolled an 8, the 8th book along. Then you have, like, I don't know, some kind of, like, D100, D20 for, like, I don't know, to then give you, like, a page and a paragraph, so then you're, like, just grabbing, like, a line from a book. Which maybe that is then... Maybe it's even just, like, character creation. Like, it's just, like, you're big rolling to get these lines from books, which you then have to build characters around.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of an oracle system. I'm thinking with Decay, something about, like, you put the idea of books into my head. Maybe there's, like, a haunted house that you have to go into, and maybe it's a game about being, like, paranormal investigators or something like that. And, like, you have to, I don't know, desperately trying not to be like, oh. the house makes you small and you have to climb a shelf.
Maybe, yeah. Maybe... No, maybe... Yeah, you go into haunted houses, and then, like, doing those big rolls, grabbing sentences from books, which are the fragments, which are, like, just the clues to who these ghosts were, and you have to figure out more things about them that are cohesive with this original fragment. And if, like, you get something cohesive,
you've got to try and figure
like,
out what the thematic link is and, like, the narrative link is between these random sentences from different books. You've got to, like, try and work out the story of this ghost to put them to rest. Yeah, no, I like that.
Yeah, maybe each ghost gives you a fragment. They're clearly connected to figure out, like, okay, what's the story between all of these ghosts, so you can, like, I don't know, put them all at rest gradually. That's a fun kind of game. That's, I don't know. I was trying to think of some kind of name for it, but there's not an obvious pun. Ghost in the Shelf is good.
Okay, my next word is pension.
My next word is wisecrack. Pension. Feel like re-rolling that?
No, it is a game about pensioners doing rap battles in their care home. And who is going to be the coolest 8-year-old in the care home come supper time? That is for you guys to work out. We're doing what? It's basically a roast battle. Sort of like, you've got to do cold reads on people. Can you read?
Maybe it's a thing of, like, there's a randomizer where you get life details about each pensioner.
Yeah.
Which obviously, because they're very old, like, these things could all happen. And then, you're having to turn these into the roast for the roast battle.
Yeah, there's like a full like traveller life path thing that you build your pensioner's entire life up to them being put in the care home, and then you've got to like, I think like there's an element where you're like telling stories to each other about your life, but then you have to then go around and turn them back on each other as like in a roast battle. It's like, oh, you're so old, you saw fucking World War Z, sort of shit like that. I'm not good at roasts. Can you tell?
You're not that kind of mean.
I'm not that kind of mean, no. I'm a different kind of mean.
Maybe it's a thing if you get the randomizer, maybe instead of the roast battle, it's like then whoever got the longest life path is elected to like tell some great yarn.
Yeah.
And everyone else, if they have points in their life path which intersect, they're allowed to be, like, interjecting. Or otherwise all interjecting with wisecracks, but then when there are points where your life paths cross over, you can try and, like, wrestle control of the narrative somehow.
Yeah. It's made as Tall Tales.
Yeah, it's like Big. You know Tim Burton's film Big?
With Tom Hanks?
No, I mean Big Fish. It wasn't just big.
Oh.
There's a fish after it. There's a fish in the title. Don't drink the coffee, fellas.
Thank you for listening to Game
Really?
Soup.
Cutting it off at 17? Fair enough.
I'm cutting it off. Yeah. I've had enough of you. Goodbye.